it's a rough county jail, and so I started there, and 16 hours, it was tough, but they did that because they wanted to see how bad you wanted the job,
Okay, yeah. So it was
So
a
if you
test.
it was a test, and a lot of guys didn't make it. He opens the door, inmates come out, he tells everybody to put their hands on a wall. Everybody does, except one big dude. He's not doing it. He doesn't want to. He's not going along with the program, right? So my friend says, "Hey, you know what? Turn around, put your hands on a wall." The guy's like, "Go fuck yourself," and so he goes to physically turn him around.
Yeah.
The guy takes a swing at him. So now it's on, right? We have like 25 inmates on the wall. All the court officers, they just take a step backwards. They're just like,
this
whoa,
is not our problem.
Yeah, we didn't sign up for this. You know what I mean? And I just remember coming in the morning. I didn't sleep at all, and getting screamed at, by the director of the academy, and I'm like, what are you screaming at me for? Here's the numbers of my captain. Call him. At the end of the day, I work for them, not you. A couple of the sergeants that were with us, they had these like fire hydrant size cans of OC spray, like mace.
Okay.
And,
wow.
Yeah, they use them in the jail in case there's a riot, right? So, at one point in the night, everybody got tired, right? And so like we would just roll up on a corner and just spray the whole corner down, and just keep going, right? No reports, no arrests, right? But, like they got the message, like we kind of
got the message, I think.
Right? You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
It's great too, as long as we're producing and bringing in like good cases, and see, because like your bosses, all they want to do is take pictures with piles of drugs and money, right? That's all they care about. They don't care how you did it. They don't want to know, and they don't care if you take 2 weeks off after they took their picture with the pile of drugs. They, go relax, go do your thing, just as long as it keeps coming in, right? So as long as you're working, you're fine, right? And we were doing big cases like 400 kilos of coke, 200 kilos of coke. We hit a heroin mill. Actually, like my third day there, we hit a heroin mill. I woke up, I tell the guy who I am, I tell him the spiel about the stolen car thing, and I ask for his driver's license, right? So he takes his driver's license, and I never forget this. He's got it in his right hand, right? And he goes to hand it to me, right? And as I go to grab it, he pulls it in. Now, here's where the problem is. So maybe I'm complacent, maybe I'm whatever, but I make this huge rookie mistake. I reach into the car, okay? It's a big no-no. So I reach in, and as I reach in, I notice that his foot's on the brake, the car's in drive. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and he, with his left arm, he hooks my arm, and he punches the gas. And now we're going into the highway, and I'm trying to run, okay? Now, because I went to grab the license with my left hand to keep my, weapon hand free, right? So he's got me hooked, and I'm trying to run to keep up as he's getting onto the highway. And I know that I can't keep up, obviously, right? But if I yank my arm out, which I could probably do, I'm going to fall and get run over by his back tires, right? So in my mind, the only choice I have, I dive into the car. and again, I got down to 175, and you know, but I was still missing something. You know, I was missing that
high,
you know,
that adrenaline rush,
that camaraderie. You know,
too,
the whole like, you know,
family.
So yeah, and so I said, you know, I got to figure something out. I got to do something. Now I had done a skydive when I got out of boot camp, right? Me and my buddy was like, hey, let's go skydiving. All right, so they took you up in a little Cessna, you know, and you jumped out at like 3,000 feet, and it was a big round parachute. You couldn't really steer it, you know, and you really couldn't land it. You had to just hit the ground and fall, you know. But it was great. It was awesome, you know. Just like having one leg on the step and holding the strut of the plane and just letting go, and you know. And it was a static line jump, so it pulled it out for you, right?
Okay.
It was just awesome. So back then I said, I'm going to get my skydive license, right? But, you know, I didn't. Life happened, whatever. You know, I got busy. I never did it. But this time I was like, no way. I'm going to get my skydive license. So I went for it, man. And I got it, right? I think I got it in like 3 weeks. I just was there every day, man, just waiting for good weather, waiting for good weather. Okay. So I got my license at the end of 2019, right? The end of the season, October.
Wow.
Beginning of, yeah. And so the season ended and I had like 27 jumps, right? You need 25 to get your license, right? So I got my license. I ended up squeezing in 2 more jumps, and then it got too cold to jump, and that was it. So 2020 rolls around, and I went up and down the East Coast. I hit all these skydive centers, and we call like skydive centers drop zones, right?
Yeah.
So in 2020, I hit 11 drop zones, and I did over 300 jumps. Man, I was just banging it out, man.
Jumping every day.
Yeah, man, I was just going, just chasing the weather, and just, you know. And then 2021 rolled around.
Wait a second. So you were gaining like this adrenaline rush that you were like missing in your life somewhere, and that camaraderie you got it with the people you were skydiving with.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it
okay.
replaced, like it replaced that, like that hole I had, right? You know.
Yeah, for sure.
It was the camaraderie, right? The equipment, you know, because it's just like police work. You got your own equipment. You got to maintain it. And the training too, like with skydiving, like you're always training, man. You know, it's like golf. I don't play golf, but these guys are always trying to get better and better and better. And it's the same thing with skydiving, you know. And you know, like I was 52 when I got my license.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not that common for a 52-year-old to go get a skydive license, right? I mean,
yeah, and especially jump that many times at that little time. That's crazy. Right?
So people looked at me like I was nuts, but again, I was trying to fill that, you know, I was trying to fill that void, right? And because my goal was, what I wanted to do was get my my tandem rating, right? I wanted to be a tandem instructor.
What is that?
To take people on skydives, you know, when you hook them to you and you take them. So, you know, I want the skydive center near my house. You know, he was like, yeah, man, you got to come work for me. But I needed 500 jumps, right, in order to get that rating. And so I was just jumping my ass off, and everything was going great, and no problem. You know, 2021 was a little weird though, right? You know, because COVID was there, you know, and so things were just different. You know what I mean? Like it just felt different, you know. But
did people have masks in the planes jumping? Yeah,
we wore those like the gaiters, right? You know, just people were crazy though. Like it was.
Yeah, I know here too.
People getting yelled at, like, I got a helmet on, like a full face. What the fuck are you talking about? I got to wear the thing underneath the helmet. Get the hell out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but you know how it was, right?
I would take it off after I jumped. Oh, it flew off.
Yeah, right?
Fuck it. So let me breathe this air. Like
exactly. You know, like it just, people got crazy though. And But if you want to jump, you got to do it. You got to do what they say. So you do it, whatever. And so I'm sitting in my kitchen, and I had started wingsuiting, right? And I had a couple jumps in, like four wingsuit jumps, right? And
So
I
how is
wanted to
that different jumping from the plane in a wingsuit or just parachute?
so so you first you need 200 jumps before you can start the wingsuit, right? So I
Okay,
even
okay.
waited till I had over 300. At this point I had 338 jumps, right? I had like 334 when I started wingsuiting. So when you skydive, you're falling straight down, right?
Okay.
So and there's different like forms of skydiving, like belly position is when you come straight down on your, then you have free flying, where they have all different kind of positions. You can go on your back, you can do a sitting position, you can stand up, you can go head down, right? So there's so many different ways to do it. But I never got involved in that because I wasn't that limber. You know what I mean? Like, so and I, so I was a tracker, right? So what a tracker is like, so first of all, I have a hard time getting in the belly position because my body is so wired up from the surgeries I had that, like, I can't arch my back because it's all wired together,
Okay, well,
fused,
yeah.
right? So, and it's very hard for me to stay in that position. And my shoulders are all locked up so I'm what is called a tracker. Now, when you track, it's like wingsuiting without a wingsuit, right? It's like body surfing. Okay. So I can go pretty far and pretty fast, right? Because I'm not falling straight down. I'm falling on like an angle, and it's pushing me. The wind is pushing me as I'm
Yeah.
going, right? And you can pick up some good speed, like 80, 90 miles an hour. You're still going pretty good, because you got
Wow.
to understand, you're exiting the plane at like 90 miles an hour, right? So you're going at least that fast when you exit. And if you get into a really good tight position, for tracking, if you can keep it like straight, and like, you can go fast, man, and you can cover a lot of ground. Like,
I see some squirrel suits with the speed odometer on them, and they go like 200K. You're like,
oh
God
yeah,
damn, these
right.
are fast.
And so without the suit, like, you're moving, you're going fast. You can't. You have to slow down, right? You're not just gonna, deploy your parachute, your canopy, without slowing down, right? Because it'll pow, right?
Yeah.
So now you put that suit on, and you're doing the same thing, but now you're really moving, man.
And you
Like,
control more yourself in the air, probably with a wingsuit.
oh, definitely, because like I hadn't gotten that to that level yet, right? But these guys, they can go. I mean, oh, they're awesome. Like the things they can do. Especially like you see the guys who jump off the mountains and do it. It's called
Yeah.
proximity flying. That's insane, right? And that was something I wanted to try, but I never got around to that. But so I had, like, again, I had I had gone through the class and I did my supervised jumps. So this is probably my third unsupervised wingsuit jump, right? And so I ended up going. I'm sitting there in my kitchen. I'm checking the weather everywhere like a nut. And
Yeah.
I said to my wife, "Wow, North Carolina, beautiful weather. It's like the first really good spring weather down in North Carolina." Because I live in upstate New York. So I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to go down for a couple of days." She's like, "Cool, just be careful, whatever." So I pack my truck up. I head down there, and I get there on a Monday, and like, there's nobody there. It's a Monday. There's no one, and so I understand they're not going to put a plane up just for me. That's not going to happen. But I don't really care because I'm at a new place. I had never been to this place, and
Yeah.
so it's cool. I'm in no hurry. Whatever. It's tomorrow. Whatever.
Visit
But
this.
yeah. So I take my gear and I walk into this hangar that I thought was for fun jumpers, right? So like a fun jumper is just a guy like me, right? I'm not a military jumper. I'm not an instructor or a student. I'm a licensed skydiver, just jumping for fun, right? So I walk into this hangar and drop my gear down, and there's a bunch of guys in this hangar, and they're all looking at me, right? And I'm like, what's up? How's it going? So I start talking to these guys, and I come to find out that they're in the Army and they're stationed in Fort Bragg, right? And like they don't tell me what they do in the Army, but I got a pretty good idea. So the Army contracted a plane for them to train, right?
Okay.
So they're like, and we talked, and I told them I was a retired detective, and I was in the Marine Corps, and they're like, hey, you want to hitch a ride on our plane? I was like, yeah, man, that'd be great. What? Absolutely. So I told them what I was going to be doing, and what I was going to be doing was practicing my wingsuit pattern, without a wingsuit, because I'm a good enough tracker where I can do the pattern and go pretty far. This way I can get to see the landmarks on the ground, like get familiar with the area, because again, I've never been there, and you can go pretty far in a wingsuit, and if you're not careful, you're not going to make it back to the airport,
Yeah.
and you got to land off somewhere, and I don't want to do that, So I do 6 jumps with those guys, right?
That day.
And that day, yeah,
Okay.
awesome day, man.
One after another. Okay.
Day. Yeah, there's one after another. Jump, pack, jump, pack, jump, and you know what? They were so cool. Like they could pack a lot faster than me, And they were like holding the plane up, And I'm like, whoa, you don't got to do that. They're like, nah, we do this every day. Don't worry about it, So again, so I did 8 jumps, and so the last jump, I'm about to start packing, right? And some girl comes in, says, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm new here, does anybody want me to pack for them, And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm tired. I'll give you some business. Sure, I'll let you pack for me, right?
She's new here, and you're like, sure, pack for me. I heard all my life that if it's not folded the right way, it can open completely different. Me knowing that in events, as I'm like 15, I would be like, no, I'll take a professional. So you were nonchalant. You were like, okay, do it.
Yeah, wow. Well, because I figured, new here, I figured she worked somewhere before, she got there. And, and a lot of these packers, they're way better at it than me. Like they got thousands of pack jobs under their belt, So I go check on her, maybe about, 30 minutes later. And she's like, oh, thank you so much for letting me pack for you. This is only my 100th pack job. I was like, so I'm thinking to myself, all right.
You had more experience.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm thinking to myself, tomorrow when I get here, I'm going to repack. I'm going to take it out and pack it myself, whatever. So I get there the next day, and as soon as I get there, I got that feeling again, right? That like
that same feeling you had with that guy there.
Exactly, right? Wow. And so it's so bad that I don't even remember to repack, right? Because
you're trying to focus to re-put yourself like good in a way. So, wow.
I'm trying to figure out like what is the source of
this feeling, yeah,
right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I can't pinpoint it. And so my wingsuit, it's a rental. Okay, so I rented it. The one I was jumping with, I had to turn in because they needed it, and this one was a higher level, skill level suit. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. What's the big deal, right? Well, it goes a lot faster, right? But it doesn't fit right neither, right? It's too tight in the shoulders and the arms, right? And it's like, so I'm like putting this thing on, and it's not fitting right, and it's too short, right? And so you zip it up, and you're like, oh man, it's pulling me down. And I got this whole like nervous thing going on, right? And so what do? I ignore it, right? Like, and I shove it down, and I board the plane. I get on the plane first because I'm getting out last, right? So now the whole ride up, 15 minutes, like you're going to about 14,000 feet. It's almost like 2.5 miles up. But the whole time, I'm like fidgety, man. I'm nervous, right? And then, you know, that voice, you know, that inner voice, you know, like when I heard like shoot him now, right? But it's you know, I don't know, like most of the time we ignore it, right? Because we think of it as fear, right? It's
Yeah.
just fear.
Or
So
our subconscious, like trying to just stop us.
yeah,
But
you know,
sometimes it's maybe something more magical. We never
yeah,
know.
and so I know it's not fear. I know that now. And you know, some people like call it your training, right? So like even after my shooting, like I brought that up and people were like, man, that's just your training. That's okay. It's possible, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, and other people call it the universe or, you know, I now call it God, right? Because after
Absolutely.
this whole experience, man, you know, so whatever you call it, man, just don't ignore it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing. Just but I did, of course, I ignored it. You know, like because of my arrogance or my pride, whatever it is. I just you know you know because I was at that point in my skydiving where you know I had enough jumps where I was like cocky enough to be like, yeah, well, you know, whatever. I
For
have a
sure.
reserve parachute. You know, if I got a bad parachute, I'll just cut away and go to my reserve. You
True.
know, what can happen? You
Mm-hmm.
know, so the light turns red. They open the door. Okay, it turns green. The first jumper man gets to the door. He looks out. You know, boom, he's out. Every 8 seconds, man, there's either a jumper or a group of jumpers exiting the plane, right? Because now it's not just the military guys, it's like everybody, right? So I'm sliding down the bench as people are jumping out because I'm in this like just wingsuit, man. And it's like so I got to slide down the bench and I get to the end of the bench and it's my last chance to abort that jump, right? Because the voice in my head is telling me, you know, don't jump, ride the plane down, right? And you know, and again, like I said, I ignore it.
And
I
you
get to
never
the
had that one time before in a plane? That was the first time in that plane, like don't
yeah,
jump. Wow, wow, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
first time, but not the last time.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? The first time. So, you know, I get to the door, I check my airspace, you know, it's clear. I see the airport, boom, I exit and I go right into my wingsuit pattern. And, you know, it's going good, but, you know, like I said, it doesn't fit the suit and it's too short. So I'm on a steeper angle now because it's pulling me down, which means I'm going a lot faster, right? But I got it under control, you know, and you know, everything's going good, you know, and my altimeter on my helmet, you know, starts to beep. I had it set for 6,500 feet, which would give me plenty of time to slow down, you know, pitch my canopy and make it back to the airport. You know, that was my concern, just making it back to the airport. So I
Yeah,
was pulling a little high, you know.
yeah.
So, you know, beep, beep, beep. I slow down, I reach back, and I deploy my canopy. And as soon as I let go, you know, I think to myself, you didn't slow down enough because I didn't take into account the new suit, the higher level, right? And sure as shit, that my canopy it hits the wind and I hear this pow because it opens instantly, right? Now, usually when you deploy your canopy, it doesn't open fully. It's called it snivels, right?
Yeah.
Because
And then it opens, yeah.
exactly right. So and there's a reason for that, you know, because they don't want
Because
to
the impact of when it pulls up.
exactly right. So pow, and you know, my head snaps back and I hear this crunch, and that's my neck breaking, right? And it's like somebody turned the switch off, and I get this electrical charge go from my neck all the way down my body to my toes. And as it goes down, I go limp. I can't move, right? And I think to myself, no way, no way. This did not just happen, you know? And I think like, you know what? Give it a couple seconds. Your movement and feeling, it'll come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I give it 10 seconds, 15, it doesn't come back, right? Now, I can't reach my toggles, which means I can't steer or slow down when I go to land. Okay. So that's the moment, man, right there. I'm going to die. That is it. There's no, maybe there's no, this is the moment. That's it. And now I got 5 minutes to think about it. Right. Cause I got a canopy over my head, and, but I just can't control it. Right. So, and man, you're so high up, I'm a mile high, and
no
holy
help is
shit.
coming. It's
No,
like
you're not nothing.
you
Absolutely
can't
no
get
help.
no 911 up there, that's for sure. Wow.
Absolutely, and
You feel alone in
again,
the world, right there in your own problem because you're literally sitting and just you can't even control it yet. So you're like, where am I going with all this?
yeah, and again, you got 5 minutes, right, before you hit the ground, and so your mind, my first reaction was to accept my fate, really, because I knew how much danger I was in, right? There was no,
And how much damage you already got as well.
yeah. So I have a broken neck. I mean, that's
That's it.
obvious to me, and I'm mile high, and you know, so you accept your fate, right? And now you're just floating there, and you feel like so small, like a speck of dust, man. You know what I mean? You realize how small you are,
Yeah, a
right? In the
grain of
big
salt, a
picture,
grain of salt in the whole. Yeah.
and they say like your life flashes before your eyes, right? And that's accurate, man. Like, I thought about, everything, like, my wife, my kids, my dogs, right? And how I'm done, um, like the world is going to keep turning. I'm just not going to be here. And it's almost as if I wasn't here at all, outside my little tiny sphere of influence, right? Nobody knows who I am. Nobody gives a shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really humbling. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have thought you were the biggest badass,
Yeah.
richest guy in the world. It don't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. You're dead in 5 minutes.
It
It's over.
literally ripped the ego out of you one
Oh
shot,
man.
like, because you were realizing right there, like I'm just somebody just right there, like everything's just gonna continue after.
Yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? So, and that lasts probably for about 30 seconds, though. You know what I mean? That poor me bullshit only lasts
Yeah, for sure.
because you know what?
Because your
Fuck
strong
that.
personality is gonna come out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, fuck that. I'm gonna
Let's
die.
go. Fuck it.
I know I'm gonna die, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna die fighting. I'm gonna go out like a fucking warrior with my sword in my hand. Okay.
Goddamn right.
I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna do something. I'm not just gonna float off and take this last glorious ride into fucking no fucking way. You know what I mean? Hell no. So, I sit there and I think to myself, well, what the hell can I do, right? And then let me, your brain works, funny ways, right? So I think, okay, hold on. What do I got? Number one, I planned my opening where I knew that the wind would be at my back. So, and the reason is because if I deployed my canopy and I had a bad canopy and I had to cut it away and go to my reserve, I wanted the winds to float my canopy to the drop zone, because that's $3,000. I don't want to lose that shit. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
I
Okay.
planned my opening where I knew if it was bad,
You're still thinking
boom.
about saving money in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So now I know that the wind is going to push me towards the airport, right?
Yeah.
Towards the drop zone. But the problem is that if I did nothing, I would just float right past it and end up in the fucking forest somewhere, So I was too high. I had to burn off the altitude, right? So I realized that I had just recently learned how to steer my canopy using my body weight, right? But the problem is I had a bigger size canopy, and that works a lot better when you got a smaller canopy,
Yeah.
you know.
Way
But
more
listen,
agile.
you know, but it's all I got, right? So at least it's something, right? So I start maneuver, and I can move my head, right? I can move my head, and I got a little bit of movement in my left hand, you know, and I'm in a wingsuit too, which makes a huge difference because it's like a sail almost, you know. So as I'm like trying to move, you know, and I was able to make these like 360-degree turns, right? So, and that seemed to be working. I was burning off the altitude, right? And, you know, it was going pretty good, you know, but again, I wanted to get close to the drop zone. I didn't think I was going to live, you know, because you got to understand why. So why was I like so adamant that I wasn't going to live? Like, so, you know, so I broke my neck. It was almost like equivalent to hanging myself a mile high in the sky, right? So I probably shouldn't have even survived that, right? So now you got to factor in that my canopy flies between like 27 and 30 miles per hour, right? Now, if I got a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind on my back, I'm going to hit the ground between 30 and 40 miles per hour, right?
Yeah.
With a broken neck. There's no way I'm going to survive that. This is what I'm thinking, you know? And it's, I mean, I think that's logical, right? I mean,
yeah, I think that is.
So, you know, but my thing was, you know, I had this like fear of like floating off and landing in the trees, right? And getting hung up in a tree alive and nobody being able to find me, you know, and the squirrels and the birds would peck at me and get inside my suit, right? And like fucking eat me alive or something, you know, which is probably ridiculous, but that's what's going on in my brain, right? So I got to get close to the drop zone. At least they'll find my body, right? Now, you know, and now the other thing too, though, is like, again, I hear that voice, you know, whatever you want to call it. But now it's like the bad voice, right? It's like the other voice, you know, the bad voice. It's saying, you know, ditch it, man. Ditch it into the fucking trees. Get it over with, you know, because even if you live, you're still paralyzed, man. And like your wife and family, they don't deserve that. You know, that's not that it wasn't a bad idea, you know, honestly. But I figure that the crash landing, it's going to kill me anyway. So why rush it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's it.
So, you know, I'm making my turns and, you know, I'm doing the best I can. And my altimeter in my helmet is set to beep, you know, for a landing pattern, right? So I have mine set for 1,200 feet, 600 feet, and 300 feet. Because it's just like how a plane lands. They come, you know, and they want to land into the wind, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with, you know, so you know, it beeps 3 times at 1,200 feet, and I'm crossing the runway at this point, right? And I'm thinking to myself, damn, okay, I'm going to overshoot the landing zone, and I'm heading straight for the trees. But you know, at least hopefully somebody is.
You're passing in front of it, so it's like, hello.
You know what I mean? So at least they're going to find my body, right? Okay. So, and I'm trying like the best I can, you know, and, you know, so now beep, beep, 2 beeps, 600 feet. And now the ground is getting bigger now, you know, it's noticeably getting bigger, you know, and I like to say this, like the hardest thing in skydiving is the ground, right? It's the fucking ground. And I can't stop it, right? So, you know, and I think about it and I'm like, I'm really having a rough morning. You know what I mean? Like this is a fucking rough morning.
This is when he says that to himself.
Right? So, you know, and it's kind of comical in a way. And, you know, so 600 feet, I'm fucked. I know it. But all of a sudden, like I start to turn, I catch this wind, right? And it starts to turn me. It's like about 120-degree turn. So I have a good idea where I'm going to land, and it's in somebody's backyard, directly across the street from the drop zone, right? But there's a chain link fence there, and I can't raise my legs. I can't clear it, you know? So I'm like, oh man. But no matter what I hit or how hard, I'm not going to feel it, you know? So that's like a good thing. And you know, where I think I'm going to land, 30 feet, you know, to where I think I'm going to land, there's an above ground pool. Now, if I hit that, I'm going to drown, right? Like I can't get a fucking break here, you know.
Yeah, you would
So
need a baby pool. That'd be
yeah,
the best.
right,
But
right. So you know, one beep, beep, 300 feet. Now I know at 300 feet, you got like 30 seconds, you're hitting the ground. Okay. So, you know, I think, and I say in my mind, you know, I say, you know, Jesus, please save me. Right now,
yeah,
again, I don't go to church. You know, um, and I really don't know what prompted me to think and say that. Right. But I did. Right. And as soon as I got done saying that, I hit the fence, boom, right below my knee, you know, and it flips me over and I smack into the ground. And you know, my visor is really tinted dark. And now my head is like in the ground, right? So it's really dark. And so all I see is like darkness, right? And all I hear is silence, man. Like it's really silent, right? And I think, am I dead? Right?
for
Because I
sure.
don't know. I have no idea, right?
Did you
And
close your eyes before the impact, like right before hitting, or?
you know, I don't know. I really don't
Hmm.
know. Um,
I remember when I got a car accident and I was going down the hill and I'm gonna hit something. Like, no, 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 and I literally closed my eyes because there was nothing I could do anymore. But I didn't even want to see this impact and me dying. So sometimes we do it in reaction there. But
you know, I may have. My eyes possibly could have been closed.
Mhm,
You know, I don't know. It was so dark though, right?
for
And
sure.
so, you know, I think again, am I dead, right? And so I try to move, right? I figure if I'm dead and I'm conscious, then I might be able to move, right? So I can't move, then I'm like, man, I'm alive. Shit, you know, like because I did not want to survive this because I don't want to be paralyzed. You know, like listen, that's a whole level of you know toughness that you need. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know if I got it in me. And I don't know if I want to do it, right? You know what I mean? There's
Hmm.
a lot of, you know, like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
that's because I already
Especially
feel,
when you've been in shape all your life, and now you're gonna be like somebody's gonna feed you with a spoon. That's completely
yeah, right. And like, so I already feel like my body's like a coffin and I'm trapped
in it.
inside my body, right? And I feel really small inside my body. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like I'm a prisoner, you know, and somebody's got me locked in my body, you know, and it's like that is the worst, man. I can't even explain to you what that feels like, but it is the fucking worst. So I did not want to live, right? But I figured though, listen, I gotta have broken bones. I probably got internal bleeding. I'm probably gonna die anyway. I'll just lay here and take deep breaths and just let it happen, you know. Uh, but you know, the Army guys that I had jumped with the day before, they exited the plane first and landed, right? And they knew where I was supposed to be. So when they saw, like, they're like, what is he doing? You know, why is he here? He should be there, you know? So they got binoculars, they looked up and they saw my arms dangling and they knew I was in trouble, right? So they jumped in a truck with a couple staff members from the drop zone and they pretty much kept up with me, followed me. And then when I hit the ground, they were there within a minute. I mean,
Oh wow,
they were on me, man. And like
wow.
these guys were trained, okay? Like they were all business at this point now, you know.
Yeah,
And
no more games.
none, right? They stabilized me, man, and like they just knew what the fuck they were doing. And they got me across the street to the runway, you know, where the helicopter was landing, right? And I was nodding in and out at this point, you know. And but the funny thing is though, as they're like getting me ready and everything, and before they brought me to the helicopter, they had to go to my truck and get my wallet, you know. I guess you know, take to the hospital with me, right?
Yeah, identity and everything.
So you know, they asked me where my keys were, and I told them. And so now, the day before, you know, so there's all kinds of customary stuff in skydiving, right? So if you like do something stupid, you owe beer. You get fined beer. You know, you got to buy a case of beer. If you land, you know, on the tarmac, case of beer. If you know, all kinds of stupid shit. If you get caught doing something for the first time, you owe a case of beer, right? So the day before, I was talking to the drop zone manager, and I said, "Hey, man, I had a great day. This is the first time I ever been here." Boom. He's like, "Yeah, I got you. You owe me a case of beer." Son of a bitch, right? So I had gotten a case of beer, and it was in my truck, right? So I say to the guys, I say, "Look, you get that case of beer out of my truck because I owe it to, you know, Bob to drop some." And they're looking
Still
at me like
thinking
I'm
about
fucking
his
crazy.
debts right there.
You know, they're like, you fucking got a broken neck, and you're worrying about paying your beer fine. I'm like, well, I owe it, and it's in my truck. You know, so you get in my wallet, make sure, you know. So this, because your mind wants to take you away from the situation, right? It wants to go somewhere else. It doesn't want to like focus on,
Yeah,
you know,
live in
because
this coffin that you're feeling right there.
right. So it's trying to take you away from that somehow, you know, and so they get me across the street and they're prepping me for the helicopter. And you know, the flight medic was there, and I said to him, I said, "Hey, look, when we get up to altitude, can you just fucking throw me out the door, right?" And he got mad. He's like, "Not on my watch," you know, like
Because you were probably dead serious looking at him when you
fucking
said,
dead serious,
"Oh
man.
my
Because
goodness."
you got to understand, like, I felt like a sack of meat. You know what I mean? Like it was over for me. Like I was finished. My life was over. Like this is just. I mean, like, you know, there's no way out. There's no happy ending here. You know, so that's. I mean, that's how I felt. You know, like I was like,
And
fuck
he
this. You know,
wasn't doing that for sure. That's murder,
right,
my friend.
he wasn't gonna do it, man. But man, you know, um, you know, my moral for this story, the whole reason why I'm even like speaking, but I'll get to it later, and you'll understand it. You know, so I land at the hospital, and like I can move my head, and so I see like there's like 20 doctors and nurses and technicians, they're all lined up, right? And I think to myself, wow, you know, something really bad must have happened. Like, you know, I'm thinking maybe a big um, accident on a highway or something. They're waiting for something to come in, you know? And because I'm really like thinking, like, holy shit, there's, you know. So I get off, you know, and all of a sudden, like, they start working on me, right? And they're just cutting everything off me, and you know, they're putting IVs in me, and there's an intake nurse asking me questions, and they got this portable X-ray machine, and like they're doing all this stuff as they're running down the hallway trying to get me right, and it's nuts, right? But I say to the intake nurse, you know, I said, hey, you know, what's going on? Did something bad happen? Right? So she looks at me and she says, she smiles and she says, you happened, right? So I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, but it hit me really hard though that like I was in good hands there. Like these people really cared. You know what I mean? Like they really
Yeah, they
gave
were
a
all
shit.
out to save your life right there.
All out, man. And
And
but
that
the
is
thing was like,
beautiful.
but I couldn't understand why though. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point? I'm done, man. Like you're wasting your time. Like you know what I mean? Like I just
Mhm.
didn't understand. And you know, they must have x-rayed me like 4 or 5 times. They checked every inch of my body, and they couldn't understand how I didn't even have a scratch on me, right? No broken bones, not even a scratch, you know, except for my neck, right? I broke my neck 5 and 6, like fucking blew out, you know?
Wow.
And so they were like, they just couldn't believe it, you know? And I was like, I didn't, you know, I got to ICU, and you know, like again, and they were all business and everything, and they hit me with, I don't know what it was, man, but I was like kaboom, like I was like, fucking, you know, and it's a good thing though because like I kept it together really, really well this whole time, you know, like you know, and but I don't know how long that would have lasted because like even like the best hospitals, right? They're like they can be terrifying, man, especially at night. You know what I mean? And especially if you can't move, right? And I was in North Carolina. I'm from upstate New York. So this whole journey I'm going on it alone, you know? Like there's no way that my wife could come down to North Carolina. I got 2 kids in school. She's a teacher,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to happen. I wouldn't want her there anyway. You know what I mean? I didn't want her, like, I wouldn't even FaceTime her. Like when I got put into a room, I wouldn't FaceTime with her because I didn't want her to see me the way I was because, you know, I'm telling her, don't worry about it. I'm going to be fine, you know? But it's not that I'm lying. I just don't know how I'm going to pull it off. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm in bad shape, man. You know, like, so, you know, they get me into ICU and they hit me with whatever they hit me with, and so I'm laying there, and you know, my wrists curled in, you know, and I couldn't fucking move. So I don't know what's going on, you know, because like, you know, there's a lot going on around me, but it's got nothing to do with me. I'm just laying there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, you know, they're waiting for the doctor. Okay. And so I'm sitting there, and you know, your mind can fucking launch you into greatness, or it can drag you down to the lowest pit of hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And when you have no hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you, like, I couldn't see a way out. I couldn't see there's no happy solution here. You know, like I'm in my mind, I'm finished. It's over.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to, you know, so, you know, I'm not embarrassed to talk about it. Right. You know, especially because it might help somebody.
Exactly.
So I'm sitting there, and again, I got no fucking hope, and I got to find a way to kill myself. You know what I mean? There's no fucking way I'm going through this. I'm not going to be I'm not going to do it. Right. But how the hell am I going to kill myself? I can't move. The nurse is not going to come in and OD me. That's not going to happen. So, you know, this is going to sound really stupid, but I'm thinking, and I remember the movie The Silence of the Lambs, right? And the Hannibal Lecter convinces the lunatic in the cell next to him to swallow his tongue and choke himself and fucking kill himself, right? Now I know that's a movie, but at the time I'm like, well, I can do that. So I'm sitting there for like a good half hour, and I'm trying to swallow my fucking tongue, right? And you know, I'm trying so damn hard, and you know, after about a half hour, I give up, and you know, the one thing I can fucking move is my tongue. And now it hurts, right? Because I've been trying to swallow it for a half hour, you know, like
The only part
shit.
of your body that could hurt, you managed it.
Yeah, right. I managed now to fucking do it, right? But seriously though, like, so I couldn't obviously swallow my tongue, right? You know, but again, your mind, you know, if you allow it to, it will go places, right? So I formulated this whole plan in my mind that when I got released, I was going to get a motorized wheelchair, and you know, and drive it in front of a bus or a train. You know what I mean? Like that's where your mind will take you if you let it run wild, and if you have no hope, right? So the doctor comes in, and you know, he tells me, you know, from the X-ray, it looks like my discs crumbled. Okay, and he said that's a good thing because, you know, if they stayed intact, chances are good that it would sever my spinal cord, right? He said he didn't know if my spinal cord was severed or not, but so he was sending me right in for an MRI and right into surgery. So, you know, but I tell him, look, you're not sticking me in that MRI tube, not right now, not after everything I've been through. I'm not going in that thing. You got to put me out. So he's like, okay, fine. You know, he gives me enough Valium probably to kill a horse, right? But I'm out. And I wake up back in ICU, right? As if like nothing ever happened, right? Because I can't feel anything, but I just had neck surgery, right? Okay. And so, but again, I'm back in that room, and that feeling of doom, right? That fucking heavy doom. It's horrible. You know what I'm saying? Like it's fucking like, you know, it's suffocating. doctor comes in. He says, all right, look, everything I did was a success. But, if 2 more hours, if you didn't have the surgery, you were finished. You were done. Okay. So everything I did was good. Your discs crumbled. They didn't sever your spinal cord. Okay. He says, but your spinal cord is damaged and it's bruised and it's really swollen. He said, so we're going to keep you in the ICU. He said, and I can't tell you what your recovery looks like. He says, just, at this point, like, it's luck. Whatever happens is luck. Okay. But he said it didn't sever my spinal cord. So that's like,
that little hope.
I don't have it. I don't have the hope yet, but it's close, right?
It's something.
I mean, yeah, it's something, right? Because, imagine if you said, listen, your spinal cord's severed, you're fucked. It's over. Mm-hmm. You know what? I didn't hear him say that. So
I would have been like, thank you. I was waiting for a conclusion. Yeah, but now you're like, okay, so maybe there's something.
I'm in the game, right?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm in the game right now, So like 4 days go by in ICU, right? And, I'm heavily medicated, man. But all I'm trying to do when I'm not nodding out is move something, right? Anything, man. I'm just, and like on the 4th day, like, I'm like, no way. I feel like I'm moving my big toe, right? So I yell for the nurse. She comes in and I said, hey, I think I'm moving my right big toe. She goes, I don't see it. So she rips my sock off and she grabs it. And she yells, like, I feel it, right? So she runs off to go get the doctor. The doctor comes and he doesn't say anything. He just grabs it. And I'm trying so damn hard to move this thing. You know what I mean? And I can't tell if I'm moving it. So but I see this big fucking smile on his face, right? And he didn't have to say a word, right? I wouldn't have heard it anyway. I was just like, oh man. Mm-hmm. So he leaves, and the next 2 days I get my left big toe, and then my right finger, and then my left finger. I could just get a little bit of movement, man. He comes back in now. He's like, he commits, and he's like, okay, look, everything I did worked. I'm not going to tell you what your recovery is going to be like. He said, because some people will never walk again and some people will. And I don't know why, but he said, if you stay positive and work hard and put that work in, it's up to you. And he leaves. And I think to myself, up to me. All right. I don't know if I got it in me at this point, but fuck it, I guess. What am I going to do? Right. So, I started to think about everything, like everything that happened, all these like little coincidences, so my neck breaks and it doesn't sever my spinal cord. Okay. That's, because like everything bad that happened was countered by something good. Right. So I'm able to make it back to the drop zone using my body weight in my head, right? Saving all that time. They didn't have to go find me, I would have been paralyzed, right? Had I gone floated off and they found me, right? Mm-hmm. The wind that kind of pushed me, well, I had a wind on my back. How the hell is a wind? I got a wind on my back, I got a wind on my face. That's kind of weird, right? But hey, whatever, So
we'll take it.
I'll take it, right? And I ended up landing into the wind, which slowed me down
drastically. Yeah, for sure.
And then the fence absorbed the impact, right?
For sure. Because I think if it would have been like a wood, you would have hit straight impact. But since it's a fence, it's like slinky a bit. So it took it. Yeah.
So it absorbs the impact. And if I would have hit the ground,
it's a straight ground. Yeah, it's not moving for you.
The first thing it would have hit would have been my feet, and then smack right into you know what I mean? Like there's no way, man. I would have been finished. So, and then even the doctor, right? So the doctor, I didn't realize this, but he wasn't even supposed to be working that day. He was in the hospital checking on a patient, and he's like one of the best neurosurgeons on the East Coast, right? I didn't know that at the time. So that's like another thing, right? So all these things, right? And I said to myself, like, there's no way that all these things happen so that now I can just lay in bed the rest of my life, right? And then I also said though, like, if I truly believed though that God intervened, right, and saved me,
Yeah.
then I had to believe that He wasn't going to abandon me now when things are going to be at their most challenging, right? It wouldn't make sense.
Exactly.
Like so. With that thought in my head, I was like, you know what? I'm walking out of this place. I didn't, and from that moment on, man, I was so positive. Like you couldn't tell me anything different. I didn't want to hear it. Like, I remember one doctor came in and he started talking about, well, don't get your hopes up and this, that, and the other. I threw him out. I threw him out of my rooms. Get him out of here. Get that guy out of here. I don't know who he is. I don't want to hear that shit.
I don't need that shit. That's it. Get out of here.
Nope. I'm having a good fucking day. I know that I'm walking out of here. I don't want to hear it. You know what? And that's how I did it though, man. Like I went to therapy. Like, I finally got to therapy and they were so awesome, man. Like, cause they taught me how to live again. Right. But, what they mainly though, what they did was they taught me that the only thing holding me back was my mind. Right. And they said, if I could get control of my brain, my mind, I could fucking do anything, and I thought about that really hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I that's why everything was positive, man, everything. And I worked my ass off. And whenever like a patient like canceled their appointment, like they would come to me and ask me, and I always said yes, always. I didn't give a shit, And by the time I left, I was doing like 5 hours a day of therapy, And the thing was though, like, it wasn't just therapy going through the motions, man. Like I gave it everything I had, man. I left it all out there. You know what I mean? Like because I knew I had one shot to walk out of that hospital, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to blow it,
Fuck that.
Yeah, like, and like I had all this hope, man, and everything. It was good, right? And everybody was great, but halfway through this journey, like I got leveled, man, just fucking leveled. I'm in therapy. They bring me back to my room for lunch, right? And I asked the nurse if she could dial my phone to call my wife because I still can't, use my fingers and my fingers were the last things to come back,
Wow.
And I still don't have them all, like I'm still like there's times when I can't do shit, but most of the time I'm all right. So my wife answers the phone and I could tell there's something wrong, and I ask her and she breaks down crying. She tells me that my dog died, right? One of my dogs died, right? Just she was teaching from home because of COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
She Zoomed, she's a third grade teacher. So she Zoomed with her class, dismissed them for lunch. The dog walked in, just dropped dead, right? And I had to get off the phone, man. I was done, right? I was like, I just felt like I was under attack, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, so like all that hope I had, man, it was just wiped out. And I remember sitting in that chair, staring at the wall, and just like, I'm done. I quit. I'm fucking done. I'm throwing it in. I'm packing it all in. I'm thinking I'm gonna call my wife, tell her to put me in a nursing home, fucking close the door, make believe I'm dead. I can't do this shit no more. But I fucking started to think, and I remember, when I was a drill instructor for the police academy, right? I would go there in the mornings, and train the recruits and then take a shower and go to work, right? So, and I was like, my job was like, I was the mean drill instructor, and I didn't like it. It was all an act, but it had to be done. You know what I mean? Like, because like you know what I mean? Like I taught them, my job was to teach them how to reach down really deep inside themselves and fucking find the will to survive and not quit. Right? That was my job. And to do that though, like you had to really, break them down, and what happens is they usually end up hating you You know, because that's that little flame lights, you know.
It's
And
like a UFC coach when they tell their fighter to get him like deep down, they go grab something for that
yeah,
third
right.
round there. Yeah,
Exactly. Like they you know, and that's what I did when I was up in the air, right? You know, like when I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself, that little fire inside me like lit, you know, and then as it grew, you know, so at first it turns to anger, then you get furious, you know, like it's that I call it the fire of your soul, man, you know, like and you just that's it. You're gonna go, you're gonna win, or you're gonna die trying.
exactly.
And there's no fucking dishonor in that whatsoever. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So that's what I try to instill in the recruits, you know. But now here I am, like about to fucking quit, you know, and you know, it reminded me when I thought about that, it reminded me who I was, right, and who I was fighting for. And then you know what? Then I decided to get back in the fucking game, and I told the therapist, you know, I want more fucking pain. I want more suffering because the quicker that I took the fucking pain and suffering, then I can go home. But I can go home on my feet and not in that fucking chair. You know what I mean? Like that chair sucks you, like it sucks you into it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's fucking horrible. And you know, like, and that's what I did. And they were more than happy to fucking torture me. You know what I mean? They loved it because you know that's what they want to see, man. They want that
Person that
spirit.
doesn't give up wants to retry to walk right or want to retry to eat.
Yeah, right. Because you know, look, there were other patients in there. Like this hospital specialized in spinal cord injuries, right? And I saw other patients, right? One day you go in and you see them, and there's something different about them, right? And they gave up. They fucking gave up, and there's nothing you can say to them, nothing that'll change their mindset. And what happens is they get stuck and they don't improve anymore, right? And you know that's frustrating, especially as I come from the background of being a drill instructor. Like I want to fucking shake them and say, "Hey, man, like you can do this, man. You can do it." You know, but I couldn't even move, so I had to fucking, you know, so you know, after like 2 months of hell, man, like it was hell. You know, you got to understand, like I had to relearn everything,
Yeah.
and it didn't come easy, you know.
And
But I walked that.
were you emotional in those times, like realizing that something so simple would be so complicated?
Well, so when I couldn't move at all, right? Um, what I daydreamed about the most is like the simple shit, like putting your fucking socks on or brushing your teeth. You know what I mean? Like it's not what you don't like dream about things you think you would dream about. It's the simple shit that like couldn't even put a shirt on. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like so, you know, so it was frustrating, you know, because you want it, you want it now, but you realize that I always felt like I was running out of time. I'm running out of time. You know, because you know they made the mistake of telling me that with a spinal cord injury, you have 6 months to get all the major improvements, right? And then After that, it slows down. And after a year and a half, you don't improve at all no more, right? So I was always in this friggin' race, right?
Yeah,
And
like the days are burning out.
yeah, like every
Oh my
day
God.
gone is like, holy shit. Like,
Wow.
man, I'm one day closer to the end, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And now I look back on that and I'm like, that is the worst thing they could have ever said to me, because I'm going on. That happened in 2021 in March. So 22, 23, 24. So that's 3 years ago. I'm still improving. Okay. Very slowly, but it's still something, I'm still getting better a little bit every day, and you can't even measure it. It's so small. But if you look at me now to where I was a year ago, it's a major improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got out of there, and I was still in bad shape. I was like completely numb. I couldn't, no feeling in my hands. So if I was holding something like a glass and I looked away, I dropped it because I couldn't feel it, and your mind just doesn't, unless you're looking at it.
Yeah.
So that was hard. Or like, somebody handed me like a one of those like White Claws, right, in the can.
Okay. Yeah.
And I couldn't like control my finger strength, and I was like, I just crushed it, and the shit all came out, right. I was like, damn, right, So that's like weird stuff, though, like, and my hands, like, they always felt like they were gigantic because they hurt so bad. They're like throbbing. I felt like I was wearing those like I'm number one like gloves. You ever see them, right?
Those
So
big
I always,
Mickey Mouse hands that you can't
yeah,
really
yeah,
move.
exactly. Right. So I always put my hands in my pocket, because I just saw, because my fingers are all screwy, and like I always thought people were looking at them and shit. But after a while, I didn't give a shit no more, and because I limp. I have a limp. Sometimes I don't, but most of the time I do. And people look at you funny too. You know what I mean? Like they'll, especially like I went back to the skydive place by my house to, I wanted to jump. And they were like, fuck you, you're crazy. You're not, there's no way. I'm like, well, can somebody take me on a tandem? Absolutely not. No, we're not doing it. So I'm like, all right, that sucks. I didn't know where my gear was, right? And so, but I watch these veterans skydive, right? They're missing fucking arms, and they train, right? They modify their gear, and I'm like, well, they can do it. Like, why can't I do it, right? And the response to me, well, why don't you wait? Wait for what? I don't know. I could go to bed tonight and never improve at all. This could be it. We're going to wait 10 years, And so with my license, if I don't jump in 6 months, I lose my license. And I knew that if I lost my license, it's usually not a big deal. But I knew if I lost my license, I would never get it back. Nobody would ever take me on a jump to get it back. So I was like, I was getting pissed. I was falling into a really bad fucking depression. You know what I mean? Like, because like I just felt like I was running out of time, and like,
what made you want to jump again? Like that moment was so tragic. Like, why would you think of doing that sport again?
Well, so that's a good question, and I'm going to try to explain it.
It's all good.
So when I got hurt, a lot of people, they didn't say it to one person said it to my face.
Mm-hmm.
And what they said was, what did you expect? You got what you deserved, right?
Wow.
So now, most other people didn't say that, but I could tell they thought it. You know what I mean? They judged me, right? Like, you're a fucking asshole. What were you doing skydiving in the first place anyway?
Mm-hmm.
So that was tough, right? But I didn't. If I stopped skydiving, then I knew I would have these whatever you want to call it, limitations, whatever, for the rest of my life, right? And I was all right with that. But what I didn't want was to be defined by, oh, that's the guy who got fucked up skydiving. You know what I mean? So I wanted to skydive so I could put that to bed, you know. And plus, I knew what I did wrong. You know, it was my fault. I didn't slow down enough, right? So, you know, um, I didn't see any reason not to skydive, right? If I could do it safely, why not do it, right? Um, you know, because it's something that I love to do. You know, it's
Yeah.
so it was, you know, I wasn't trying to prove anything. You know, it's not like I was looking for attention. Like, oh, look at me, I'm the
Yeah.
guy that goes skydiving, right? And nothing to do with that. It's a lot of it was to give the old fuck you to everybody that was thinking that I got what I deserved. You know, because all they want to do is sit on a driveway and get fucking drunk every day. Right? I dared to climb out of that box to go do something that I love to do. And they didn't like that because it made them look bad. Right. But I'm not trying to make fuck you. You can do whatever you want. But now you look at me doing all these things and then you look at yourself and you know, so instead of improving yourself, you attack me. You know what I mean? That's just how most people are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it was kind of like, yeah, I wanted to give him the old fuck you, you know, but why not? Right. So, but I was trapped. I couldn't get anybody to help me. So I called up my friend. She's the manager. She was the manager of Skydive Shenandoah in Virginia. And she had my gear because she's a rigger. So, you know, she was supposed to fix it. So I called her up and I kind of went off, you know, like no one's helping me. I can't get anybody to fucking help me jump. I don't know where my gear is, you know. So she's like, well, I have your gear and I need more time to fix it because it's in really bad shape because they had to cut it off me, you know. So I was like, all right. And then she says to me, well, if you get a doctor's note and you come down to Virginia, I'll take you on a jump. And not a tandem jump, like she, you know, we were going to jump together, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay. Called up the doctor. I had that note in an hour, you know. So
no fucking around here.
Yeah, no, I was ready to go, right?
Oh yeah.
So I couldn't even tie my shoes yet, right? I still had elastic shoelaces on my shoes, right?
Crazy.
Wow. So I had to wait like 3 weeks to go meet her in Virginia. So I didn't tell anyone because
they were gonna stop this plane from going up.
No, seriously, because like the owner of that place was the owner of the one here, right? So I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, fuck that.
So I went down there and I was like, you know, I was a little nervous, right? That morning, and I was laughing. I was getting dressed. I still couldn't button my pants and shit, and or shirts. Like my fingers were all fucked up, you know. But I knew I could do this skydive because I did it a thousand times in my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I went over this jump every way, every possible thing. So,
but you could control your parachute then with your hands like this, or
yeah, well, because Shauna, she sewed my toggles so that they're always open. Okay. So I wouldn't have to try to get them open. Like when my parachute went up, I could just slip my hands right into the toggles and pull them down. Wow. So I would just wedge them in between my thumb. You know what I mean?
There you go.
So, you know, like, but I was nervous that she changed her mind, right? And so I got to, you know, I was like, oh man. So, but she didn't. She didn't change her mind, but she read me the riot act. You know, she told me to look, if you do anything unsafe, or I don't think you're ready, I'm going to ground you for 6 months. I don't want to hear shit, she said. And I'm like, no problem. That's cool. I get it. If I'm not safe, I don't want to jump. Right. So, you know, we got in this little Cessna and we get up there and I'm like, you know, I'm not nervous, you know, I'm just anticipating because I lost 30 something pounds in a hospital. So everything is different. Like my whole position is going to be different, everything. And so fuck it, you know, like she gives me the thumbs up. She opens the door. I throw my legs out the door and they're dangling there like 2 miles up in the sky. And I'm sitting there and I give her the thumbs up and I just lean forward and fall out of the plane. Just fall right out. And the wind hits me and I go into a barrel roll, then a flip. And I like stabilize myself. And I'm like, okay. I turn right and I don't see her. Where the fuck is she? Right. She's above me. She's watching me. Right. And then she finally comes down and we link up, whatever. And the plan was I was going to tell her when I was going to deploy my parachute and she was going to fly to the side. This way, if I went to grab it and I couldn't feel it or grab it, she's right there. She could pull it for me.
Wow.
So I reach back, everything's fine. I deploy it. It opens up. I got fucking line twists though, right? And I'm like, oh shit. So like my shoulders are still locked up, so I can't really, I can't reach high enough up to clear them. So I got a scissor kick my way out of them, right? Scissor kick in, right? So about like 30 seconds, I pop out, right? And I got a good canopy over my head, man. And man, that was like, I put my leg straps, I slid them down, and this way I could sit in my harness like a chair. And I was at 4,000 feet, man, and I had time, man, just to reflect on everything, and I just thought like, 5 months and 12 days earlier, I was laying in that backyard wishing I was dead. And now here I am skydiving, like that's just a great feeling, man. And it's not because like, I don't give a shit at that moment I'm up there. I don't give a shit about anybody, what they think, what they're going to say. Fuck them. You know what I mean? Because, that was the most alive I've ever been in my life.
For sure.
And then like people can never realize that or understand that, like, so, and I've done since that jump 108 jumps,
Wow.
So, I'm slowing down a little bit, but I still like doing it. I'm still going to do it. I do it safe. Now I'm tracking and everything now. So it's like, it's a pretty, I don't know. If I hadn't done that though, I'd regret it,
I think so.
Yeah,
I
no
think
doubt.
so. And another thing I thought is like, if you don't go skydiving again, it's like if you tell that skydiving incident, oh, you won. You're taking that out of my life there because you're not going back on that horse. Like, so right. You is fuck you to people, but fuck you to like skydiving is not gonna fucking stop me.
Yeah, right. And like if you had a car accident, you drive again, right? Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like the same thing. And you know what? So, I promised my wife that I wouldn't wingsuit again. You know what I mean? That's a fair trade-off, because she was really cool. You know what I mean? Like she never broke my chops. She doesn't like that I skydive, she'd rather me that I didn't skydive, but she knows that I'm so much happier when I skydive,
mm-hmm.
And so she never really broke my chops at all. She just didn't want me wingsuiting anymore, which I understand because that's like adding danger to danger. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's just increasing the danger level and adrenaline for sure.
Yeah. So it's like, but I tell you one thing that I learned, and I wish I could tell like everybody this, right? Like I wish like I had that reach where I could just, and what it is that like, we don't ever get to know how our story ends, right? We don't know the end, man, and so we can't give up. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to fight. You just got to keep fighting until the lights go out, right? And if the lights fucking go out, well, you know what? At least you occupied yourself until you got there, and you went out fighting, man. And I can say that because, how many times did I almost tried to swallow my fucking tongue, so I understand what having no hope is. Man, I know what it feels like, and I know how shitty that can be, but I also know that, like I know now, like, what if I would have ditched it into the trees, right? Or was able to swallow my fucking tongue. All like I'm okay now. Yeah, I got a limp, my hands fucking hurt, my fucking leg. So what? Everybody hurts. I'm fucking 56 years old now. You know, find me one 56-year-old doesn't have pain. You know what I mean? Like, so what? You know, I'm still here, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
And,
I mean,
and I can relate to what you're saying of no hope. Like when I was addicted to cocaine, at the end, the money was kept going down month and month, and because we made money and then lost it all. And at the end, when there's like 3,000 left, like I was like in my head, I was like, damn, okay, see, I'm gonna die of overdose, or I'm gonna die of a debt that I created because I'm gonna lie, manipulate, and steal to get what I want. So I was like, man, so this is the end. I knew there was no hope, because for me, I knew that I'm a strong person, but I could not be as strong as this rage that was pulling me. I call it in one of my songs, it's a cocaine song. I explain the whole thing there, but I explain it as a ghost train, because you can't fight it. It's just fucking pulling you in a direction that you don't want to go, and there's no stops there. You just see lights flashing and you're just getting pulled. And I in my song, I even say like I was back then, like I knew I was gonna die, so I was like, okay, God, farewell. Like I knew it was just the moment of time, and there was nothing else. And I realized that sometimes when we can't find hope, but there's always hope. It's just that you can't find it right there at that instant, because it's there. And my friend came up, saved got me out of there. And then one step at another, you see the hope appearing. Then I fell in love with that girl, and it's hope and hope and hope. And after everything, man, I'm alive now, and even better than before. And if it wouldn't be for those two people and all things that came into place of me working hard to stay sober, man, I could have gave up easy as well. And your story is so beautiful. I almost cried twice, because it's very incredible that you're so strong mentally. You maybe think that you had some weak points, but like every human does. And your story it touched my heart so much. I had shivers like 4 times for sure.
So, you know, like you're just talking about though, like with your story, it's the same thing. It's like it's one small victory at a time.
Exactly.
On top of one another, right? One at a time. I don't give a shit what it is. Like the first day I was in therapy, I'm on the mat or the table, right? They have this big table. You get on it, and I couldn't get. They put me on it, right? And they're like, "All right, lift your leg." I can't lift my leg. Lift your leg. Every single thing in me, right? Just trying to fucking right. And I'm probably moved my leg like this much off the mat, and they're like, "Holy shit, you did it! You did it!" Like, and I'm like, "That's success. Holy shit!" Right? But in their mind, that's the first step, right?
Because they know it's crumb by crumb.
Yeah, right. So
and you in that moment, you feel like you're failing, but they're like, no, it's a crumb. We got it. Let's keep going.
Exactly. Right. Tomorrow it'll be this much. Right.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's like, it's like that saying, right, where they talk about, how do you eat an elephant, right? And they say one bite at a time, right? Okay. So I looked at it, and I looked at this whole like situation. That's how in my mind, when I got to physical therapy and I couldn't move, and it was like, okay, I got to eat this elephant, right? And it's going to be one bite at a time, right? But it tastes fucking horrible right now. Like it's the worst thing I've ever tasted in my life. But I knew though, because I knew from boot camp, right? When you first get to boot camp, you fucking hate it, right? You want, this is the worst, but then when you look and you only have 3 weeks left, you're starting to love this shit, right? So it's the same thing. Like the elephant tastes like total shit, right? And then after a little while, you okay, I can tolerate it. I'll tolerate the elephant, right? And I'll eat a little more and a little more and a little more. Actually, it tastes not that bad. I actually like eating the fucking elephant now, right? And then you get to the point where it's like, man, I got to have the fucking elephant. I'm hungry for the elephant because I love it, right? And that's how I looked at therapy, And it's true though. And with anything in life though, I guess, right? When
Yeah.
we first start anything, it really sucks, and then it gets better and better and better. And then all of a sudden you love it, So I just think what you said though is perfect. Like there's always hope. It's just that you don't see it at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard though.
Another way I say it is like sometimes we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's only because you're far down the tunnel. But if you keep pushing forward, at a certain point, that fucking light appears, my
Right.
friends, and there's hope at the end. See, after I became sober and like 2 years later, I was seeing people do cocaine beside me. I could even smell the smell that I was smoking before, and I was not even wanting to do it. And in my heart right there, I was just seeing my cousin doing it, and I was like, he's killing himself. That's the other thing I felt. Not, oh, can I have a puff? It was gone there. But it's that 2 years of fighting, of like never going back. And I was in debt, like 26,000. Didn't have a car. My teeth were all destroyed. And I was looking at myself. I'm like, I'm 25 years old. Most people at 25 have beautiful teeth, and mine are fucked up only because of myself. So it was like head down, work hard, and get back at it. And every day was work for that 2 years straight to eliminate that circle of people I was. It's all crumbs, but after, like you say, you just want more of this. The flame in me rebuilt to the highest degree, and I rarely meet somebody that's more motivated than me. Anything. So it's hard work, but we get addicted to the achievement of little crumbs, because we gotta appreciate the little things in life, because the little things, that's what wraps everything. Because the most beautiful things in life, I feel, are free normally.
Yeah, right. And so it's funny you say that, because like I say we tend to take those little things for granted.
Yeah.
Like we tying your shoes, right? Like that putting your socks on, that's like, so I tell my friends, right? I tried to explain to them, I said, like, okay, take a day, and from the moment you put your feet on the ground, when you get out of bed, right? Just think about everything you do. Like holy shit, I'm standing up. Like this is like me. Like everything's like everything's like a magical moment, right? I'm fucking standing. Like that, holy shit. Like that's great, right? And coming down, like petting my dog, hugging my wife, making coffee. Everything is just like a gift, man, and we forget it. We forget it. We're always looking for some shiny thing, right?
Yeah,
that has
exactly.
meaningless. It's fucking meaningless, right? And I say to
Absolutely.
people, like, I want to build like wealth and equity, like in my soul, man. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, and how do you do that, right? Well, you be good to people, right? Even people don't deserve it, right? I don't care. Hey,
That's it.
maybe you're having a bad day.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, because I know it's a cliche. Life's too short. Well, it really is too short. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to enjoy because it's like I got a second chance here. I got a third chance actually, because with the cop thing, almost getting killed, and then the skydiving thing, and then I almost got killed again skydiving. And that was just a stupid thing on my part. I didn't learn my fucking lesson, right? And but that really taught me too, though, where like I can't explain it. You don't be so willing to fucking do stupid shit, right? I learned that now, like where like, no, I'm not going to go on a fucking plane when I know my hands aren't feeling right, because when I go to pull my parachute and I can't, I'm fucked. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I learned that lesson a week after I did this fantastic skydive, right? My hands didn't work, and I couldn't pull my parachute.
Wow.
So I go down, and we have a computer on our our rig, right?
Okay.
And if you're going a certain speed at a certain altitude, it's gonna blow, right? It's gonna what happens is there's a little charge in there, and there's a cutter, right? And this is the cutter, right? So there's a hole where the string goes through that holds your reserve parachute in place, and it's spring loaded. But when that charge goes off, the cutter inside here cuts that string, and pow, your reserve flies out of your, So this is a cutter that saved my life, because I couldn't pull it, and so I just had to sit there and hope that damn thing worked, and it ended up blowing my parachute to 750 feet. And I normally pull my parachute at 5,000 feet. So think about that. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
That was an eye opener for me. And that's when I said, whoa, wait a second. Yeah. You know what? It's cool. I'm back skydiving again, but I'm not going through this shit again. I'm chilling out. You know what I mean?
Let's do one step at a time.
Yeah. Let's not jump ahead, So, but I tell you what, like, I appreciate everything now, man. Like, and
same here.
It's just, and it's everybody's struggle is one struggle is not more valuable than somebody else's, right? Because it's all, it's relative, right? Like if being without hope, or is like hell. It's hell, and that's the worst feeling in the world,
like me being close to hell there now, like I appreciate the fucking blue sky. I appreciate the smell outside. I go outside now there and I do this cross. I don't know why. I think it's not for Jesus, but more to open my cage here. And I just take that fucking breath in. I'm sure people in the morning every time feel like fucked up. I don't do it for 5 minutes. It's like 10 seconds. Just taking that huge breath in of nature. Like, oh. And that feeling is fucking incredible, because I appreciate the blue sky. I appreciate the person beside me, and books changed my life. That's why I started the company of nonprofit of giving back books to people that can't afford them. I gave 97,000 books in the past 3 years.
Wow.
So I feel like giving back and appreciating this life. And why give back also, it's because I saw my mom give back, and I felt like it was such a disgrace of myself, putting myself through these drugs, and I had to, it's 5 years of me paying back all the dues that I did. So I was like, while doing that, I was like, might as well give back if I can. So I was working at a thrift shop, and I was like, I saw how many books that were thrown out. So I'm like, I'm going to start giving these books to the communities. And that's what I've been doing as well. But we appreciate life so much, and those little things, just a bird flying beside the car, you're like, wow, that bird's just living his life. Those little things that you didn't see before, that now just a hug of the person you love is so incredible, and that you really feel her against you. Those little things really they come up after.
Yeah, it's in a way, like so this accident took a lot from me, right? It really took a lot of physically, like I was stronger, just like I said, I limp and my hands are fucked up, whatever, like, but I think it gave me a lot more than it took.
Same here.
Yeah. Right? Like I learned, and I don't know how I learned these things. You know what I'm saying? Like I think differently, and I don't know how or what. Like it's not like somebody sat me down and taught me these things, right? But everything's different. Like I appreciate life, and I respect life so much now, and I don't judge nobody, man. It's like that's not my job, man. It's not. It's not for me to judge, man. Like, like if I can help somebody, I will. Like, it's just, I'm glad. In a way, I'm like, look, I wish the accident never happened, but it did. And I could walk around feeling sorry for myself, and be a victim. That's not going to work, because I'm not a victim, and I don't feel sorry for myself, and I think also that's what pisses a lot of people off too, is like they want to see you like
They're like, you were a victim. Why don't you act like one? It's like, no,
Exactly,
I ain't
right?
letting that win over me. Fuck that.
Exactly, and some people it kind of upsets them in a way, like because you're supposed to be down and like out, you're supposed to be all fucked up, but yeah, I'm not. I feel. Hey, man, I'm going skydiving. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like I don't. It is what it is, and it's like I don't know. Like it's
Did
I'm fortunate.
did those two the times you came close to death, did it change your impact on your faith or personal philosophy of this life?
Well, yeah, 100%, and so I always believed in God, right? But God was a very distant. Um,
Never answered my
like
calls either.
I didn't know that I could have a personal relationship, right?
Hmm.
I always thought I had to go to church and this and that, and I realize now I don't have to do that. And God, I know that God exists. I know it because you know He answered my prayer. I asked to be saved. I was. I I walked out of that hospital. Um, so that voice that I hear, I know what it is now, and now I listen. I listen, man, like so it, it's and the thing is too is like, and I want to tell people about it. That's the thing now, what I'm saying? Because it's like it, it happened. Um, you don't have to give up, and you have to fight. That's just like the only way we lose is if we quit, right? If
Hmm.
we quit, like that's the only way we can guarantee an outcome
Yeah.
is by either not trying or quitting. Those two things are the only thing that's going to give you a
Guaranteed.
guaranteed you're
Yeah.
going to fail.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I mean. And as long as you don't quit or not try something, you may fail. You get up and do it again, do something else, but just keep moving forward. Keep fighting. Just keep fighting. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep fighting. And
When did you write the book, and what does that phrase mean to you? Not my time as well.
so about four doctors told me I should write a book because of my recovery. And I always said, I'm not a writer. I don't even know where to start. And they always would say the same thing at the beginning. Yeah, okay, no shit. You know what I
That's so
mean? Right?
simple.
So you know what I mean? But in a way, it's really true. And I'm not a writer. I wasn't going to write the book until that guy in the hangar turned around and said, you're not lucky, you're blessed. So I felt compelled to write the book because I felt guilty about all those times that I said I was lucky. But so my plan was I was going to sit down, and I was just going to write everything that was in my head. And then I was going to try to sort it out
Yeah,
and try to put it together, right? And what happened was I sat down and started writing, and everything just poured out, right? And so I sat here for 3 weeks, and I wrote like 16, 17 hours a day, right? Like my
wow.
hands would cramp up for typing so much, but it was like it just kept coming out. And then when I was done, I was going to go put it all in order, and I read it, and I liked the order it was in, so I left it alone, So, um, yeah, honestly, like if it's almost like I had help writing that book. You know what I'm saying? Like because I just kept writing and writing and writing, and again, like I'm no Shakespeare, I know that, uh, but I think I got my message across, and my book. So when you're paralyzed and you can't move, right? You the only place for you to escape is in your mind, right? So that's kind of really where the book goes because like I'm laying in this hospital and I can't move. And my only escape is in my mind. So where do I go? In my mind, I go back to um, a time where I'm at my strongest and most in control. because now I'm really weak and I have no control, right? So, the cop stories I put in my book is what I thought about when I was in the hospital, right? And I or when I was like home and I would go to therapy and I would sit looking out my window, all day, right? I took a picture of a tree outside my window, for like 5 seasons, 6 seasons, right? As the seasons changed, as I'm sitting here trying to recover, wishing I was skydiving with my friends, right? But I can't because I'm too, injured, and so it's, I go in my mind and it's almost like the stories I tell in the book, the cop stories, they're usually funny stories, right? It's not like we kicked in some door and we did this and that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's boring. That's, you know what I mean? Like for me anyway, so I put in there like, stories of, where how I came across, setting up this raid, right? I grabbed a detective from the crime scene unit. I told him to get his best camera, and we got camouflaged up, and we snuck into this tree line when it was dark, right outside one of the housing projects in Patterson, right? So the sun came up, and we sat there, and as they're sitting there selling crack, heroin, whatever, we're taking pictures with this. Like I'm spotting for this guy, and he's got this camera, which is amazing, right? The pictures that he took, like you could see like the pieces, the crack pieces in their hand. When they break out their money, you could see the denominations on their bills. This camera was that great. So we took all these pictures because my chief wanted everybody identified, around this housing project. Mm-hmm. So we all day till the sun went down, then we snuck out. He printed the pictures. We put them in a book. We took the book to the jail intelligence unit. And they had their informants come and ID everybody in the book, came back, handed it to the chief. He sets up this giant raid because now we got like 15 targets, and there's like 75 detectives on this raid, and so I'm in the lead van, right? And it's the SWAT van. So I'm in the front passenger seat. Somebody's driving the van. SWAT team's in the back. There's 15 vehicles behind us, right? So as we turn the corner, we go into this housing project, everybody starts running, right? It's like the running of the bulls in Spain, right? So I'm like all hopped up, man, and I want to get out there. I want to start chasing somebody, right? So I open the door and I start running, but I'm in the SWAT van and it's higher than the normal vans, right? So now, but before we got there, I'm breaking all the guys in the SWAT team's balls, right? Because they're in the zone, right? And I'm like poking them, and I'm like, trying to get them to say something, right? And he's like, knock it off. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, you're gonna fucking pay, right? So when I get out of the van and start running, I bust my ass, right? And I hit the fucking ground so hard, and with that, the side door of the van opens up, and the whole SWAT team comes and uses me as a step stool as they get out of the van, right? And I'm like, as soon as the last guy gets done stepping off me, I like roll and just get up and start chasing somebody, right? And I'm thinking, all right, nobody saw that. I'm good, right? So right? So we go about the whole day, and we're hitting like different apartments and locking targets up, looking for people, grabbing everybody. So we take like a break around lunchtime. We're in this firehouse, right? And people are sitting around. I'm eating a sandwich. I'm just hanging, and I look and I see this group of detectives that I didn't know who they were. They're pointing at me, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna make believe I don't see them, So with this, one of them walks up to me, right, and I'm like, oh, here we go. So he says, hey, how's it going? I'm like, good. What's up? He said, were you in the lead van? And I'm thinking, here we go, like. I'm like, yeah, why? And I didn't even like get those, he turns around. He's like, it was him. They start fucking laughing. These guys were in a surveillance apartment and they were filming the whole thing. So they got me on film, busted my ass coming out of the van, right?
Did you see that video?
I never saw it, you
Oh
know, but
wow.
everybody else did. You know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean?
they did.
So we were in the bar later that night, you know, and you know, of course, Jose's telling a fucking story, you know, and you know, that's the funny shit though. Like that's the kind of stuff I put in a book, you know, because that's what matters, man. You know what I mean? Like the funny stuff, the friend stuff, you know, and
The
you know,
camaraderie, the
yeah, the
friend.
camaraderie, the
Yeah.
whole, you know, because I mean, I don't know, like I could write like actions scenes about this drug bust or that drug bust, but that gets boring after a while. You know what I mean?
But that could be a book of its own. I think
Yeah,
it's better like that, personal stories of your highs at the same time of what happened of the paraplegic, and you could do a whole book about just your stories because I'm sure you got fucking plenty of them.
yeah. That's the one thing. Like you know, and you know, people will say to me like, "Oh man, what you did was like you know, um, extraordinary, right?" Or you know, making it back right to the drop zone, right? Using my head and stuff like that. You know, and you know, my response to that is that when you know, when you have no choice, you'll do extraordinary things. You know what I mean? Like I'm not special. Trust me. You know, like somebody else in that situation with no hope, or what, they're going to find a way, right? If they have the will to. You know,
Exactly.
um, and that's really I think what it is. You know, the one thing that you know a lot of people mentioned to me, seeing my video, like the full video of
Yeah.
my accident, right? The one thing like a lot of military guys notice is that I didn't say a word. because my GoPro was going and it was recording.
Yeah.
But I didn't say anything, you know, like, and one guy asked me why, and I was like, I was just keeping radio discipline. You know what I mean? Like, what was I going to say? You know, who was I talking to? You know, like, so I just stayed focused though, you know, like I just wanted to make it back.
Because it was all in there, everything that was happening, all in your brain. So you had nothing to say. You were like, I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, right? I'm just trying to stay disciplined, right? Because I think that if I had really thought about my situation, you know, it kind of was, you know, I can't say it was hopeless because I made it back, right?
Yeah.
So I
But it
think
was
that
discouraging of a
extremely,
situation.
yeah, exactly. That's the best way to put it, you know. But had I not done it, I would have definitely been paralyzed from the neck down, at least, you know. And you know, and I'm not, and I'm thankful for that, boy. I tell you what. So, but you had asked me why I wrote the book, though, and I wasn't gonna until that guy in the hangar said that I was blessed, right? And then I felt obligated to write it, you know, because I did feel guilty about saying that I was
You
lucky.
were lucky, yeah.
It wasn't luck. There's no way it was luck. I mean, people can doubt what I say, but I was there. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, and
like I said before, maybe God has a lot to do with that moment, but also your will to survive, and all those two things combined was not your fucking time for sure.
Yeah, no, it definitely was not. Yeah, no, it was not my time. But then again, I get into the, like, and I wonder, right? Like, so if it wasn't my time, so why though? But there's the why, right? What, you know, is there a task I'm supposed to perform, right? So you start to think about that then, right? You know, and then you're like, you know, what, like, do I got to like save a cat out of a tree or something? Or am I going to drive down the street, see a house on fire and run in and save a family or something?
But I think you know your why. It's literally what you said before, that now you see things differently, you think differently, and you appreciate those things. Right. I think that's the why.
And I think though, it's not about like saving the family from the fire, right? And I think it's the mostly the easy things, right? Like saying like hello to somebody you don't know, right? And you don't know that person's at their wits' end. They're about to fucking give up. They're about to turn the corner and blow their fucking brains out. But because you said hello and looked them in the eye and gave them the dignity of treating them like a fucking human being, they're not going to go blow their fucking brains out, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important, because I think, you know, I say we, I mean, a lot of people walk around like, you know, they're all that and everything, and they treat people like shit. And you know,
social media did that, I think, because
I think you're right.
Because I remember, like, my grandparents on both sides, they always treated people right. Like, you go somewhere, my grandfather always told me, you represent yourself. You act like a motherfucker here, you're my little son. So I'm gonna, no, my name counts in life. So when you walk in a room, you represent yourself. You walk the fuck out representing yourself. So you got to be a good person. But now we're in a world that if you're not in this, well, you're not in my life. Sometimes I see girls that are attracted to me, and I walk beside her, and I know she's attracted, and I just say hi, just polite, keep walking, not a creep, and they look at me like they don't care, but I know she cares, but she don't give a fuck because I'm not in her phone. So now people are so like they don't give a fuck of the other. And what COVID did, like, people are now scared to touch someone, or I walk behind someone, I just put my hand on their back so they know I'm passing behind. But everybody's weirded out of another person. If you're not in their social network of world and their phone, most people don't care. I realize more little the city is, more people are see somebody they don't know, hi and be polite. But bigger the city is, less and less chance that is of happening.
So no doubt.
So, as one of the last questions, looking back on everything, surviving your attempted murder, recovering from being paraplegic, and achieving incredible feats, what lessons would you share to someone facing their own battles with fear and adversity?
Well, a couple things really. Like we again, I can't say this enough. We don't know the ending, so we can't give up because um, you know, think about how boring life would be if we knew the ending, right? What fun would this world be? It would be, um, we only lose when we decide that we're done, right? We're the ones who decide whether we win or lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I quit, I lose, right? If I'm in the game, I'm winning. As long as I'm in the game, I'm winning.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I could get knocked down 1,000 times and get up and I can just get that lucky punch in. You know what I mean? It's that lucky, out of nowhere. So and it's just that and just treating people with fucking dignity and respect is not hard. It's not hard. Like I raised my kids and I taught them, listen, you're no better than the fucking homeless guy under the bridge.
Exactly.
I'm no better than the homeless guy under the bridge. We just have different circumstances, okay?
Exactly.
And one day you're up, one day you're down. It's like a roller coaster, and that's life. And I'm never out of the game. I'm not. As long as I'm breathing, I'm in the game. That's it. So, and that's the other thing too. Like, at my age, I hate saying that, but
you're only halfway
like,
through, bro. You're only halfway through.
And honestly, like my brain, I feel like I'm in my 20s, but then when I start moving and my body, lets me know that I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, like, so at my age, I'm supposed to be in this box that they got me in, right? I'm supposed to, and the second I get out of that box, my peers attack me, because I dared to get out of the box, and I heard a story and I've never seen it myself, but so I heard, like, if you put crabs in a bucket, right?
Yeah, that is true. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead and say it.
Right. So, and one of them decides they're going to climb out of the bucket, the other ones will pull them back down.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel in my box, right? I'm in that box where I'm supposed to act my age. Well, what is that? I don't know how to act my age. I'm not going to act my age. That's fucking boring, man.
Me, I tell people, if you choose a direction in life or activities, or you're not common compared to all the mold of everybody that all fit in that box, well, out of nowhere, people are gonna judge you for it. It's like right when I started releasing music, like my brothers don't write me or call me, hey, I heard that last song that you put out. They don't give a fuck. Well, they will if I make it. Well, it's always like that. It's always like that. When you choose a direction in life that's not the common one inside the box, well, out of nowhere, people are going to judge you or not believe you and not even support you till you get to the end. You're like, fuck.
Right. Yeah. So. No, you're so right about that. Then your phone won't stop, So.
And what you said about the homeless person, it's like I tell all my friends, that's why I have you're gonna learn today on my arm, because you're gonna learn every fucking day. And if you think not, well, you're probably more stupid than you could ever think. You should go in a room as a student and leave as a student, because there's always a teacher somewhere in there that's going to teach you something. I could sit 2 hours with a homeless dude, and I did multiple times, and so much lessons learned and so much extraction of information that you could have. Anybody could teach you anything in life. That's why, and nobody's better than another. I remember when I was a kid, I was a bully, and this moment there, my grandfather decked me so well, and I was like 8 years old, and I saw a little kid outside, and he looked poor, and I was talking to myself in the truck with my grandfather. I'm like, oh, look at the kid, he's fucking poor. I'm telling you, he drove off and reparked somewhere else. He's like, You're never gonna say that again. I'm like, why? You looked for it. He's like, don't mean nothing. He could be your best fucking friend one day, but now you won't know because you're fucking treating him different of what you see. That person could be rich, poor, handicapped, and maybe that person is going to be that person that makes you meet your wife, maybe get that job one day. Don't fucking judge anybody. You don't know their perception. You don't know fucking nothing, because two people can live exactly the same trauma but have a different approach to their new life after this. So, and I was like, wow, like for me, all my life, like we've been told like black people are bad. When I was a kid, we were getting told this shit. And now my grandfather just decking me like, even if you don't have a job, he could be a good person. I was like, okay, well. So I literally stopped really bullying right after that. My grandfather was a champ there because my father was never there, and my grandfather taught me everything I know now, and that's why I treat people with respect. And the person I speak the most to in a week, even I speak to a lot of people, is my neighbor. She's 74 years old. And why? Because when I hang around with her, she really just wants to know how was my day, like a normal fucking person, not somebody that's been brainwashed by the system that the only reason they're hanging around with you is because they're sad and you're always there to cheer them up, or they don't have weed and you have weed. There's always a reason. The girl, she's there because she wants to fuck you. The guy is there because you have a lot of money. They always have a fucking reason. But that 74-year-old person doesn't, because she's just genuine, because that's how people were fucking raised. People that are 50 and over, I realize that most people are very polite. They represent themselves at all times. They don't think they're better than others, and I find that fucking beautiful. Advice is free, people. And giving a bit of time to somebody, just saying hi, like you said, could change the day of somebody drastically.
Yeah, and we don't know how, like you said, like how our interactions affect somebody and how that's going to affect them. You could literally change the course of someone's life
in history,
by saying hello to
that guy. That's a blast. You wrote a book,
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So like you like every time we interact with somebody, we affect that person, So, I'm totally changed the way after this accident. I look at things differently. I look at people differently. It's just a different, different perspective, really. And my mind is open to like anything, really. And it's so. Like I said, yes, the accident took a lot for me, but it gave me more than it took. So.
And I think something that can destroy the ego of somebody is good. That's what boot camp does. It destroys. You think you're a tough dude? Oh, you're gonna know now. Well, Mike Tyson had a problem with that too. That's why he was out of control for years and years before he is the guy that we see now. And he took ayahuasca. It's a drug that literally destroys your ego to a fraction of a second, because you realize that second that you're just a fucking grain of sand, and the only thing that's important in there is your wife, your kids, your family, your little surrounding, because you're nothing actually. And what's crazy, it's a couple of weeks after that he did that, there's a guy that went to his home and was praising his belt. Mike was like, that's not worth shit, throws on the ground. The belt's worth like $1 million nowadays. Like, he changed because you destroy that ego of somebody and you start appreciating the real things in life, because a lot of people think they're bigger than they are, or they try to fake it till they make it there. So
and so Mike Tyson, there's a quote that he said, and I hope I don't mess it up too bad, but he basically said, again, it's probably not word for word, but it was something to the effect that like when I get offended, I'm offended until I realize that I'm no one, and then I'm not offended anymore. Something to that effect, I put it in my book because because it's true.
Exactly.
Like you're offended, and then because you think you're somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
You realize, like, you know, who the hell am I? You know, 2 years ago, like, I was having to be fed and have my ass wiped by somebody. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, and then the other quote that I like from Mike Tyson is the one where he says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You think
And
you're a
that's what
tough guy
happens.
till you get cracked in the face. Then you start realizing that, wow, okay, maybe not.
Yeah, and that's what happened to me. I got punched right in the mouth. You know, that's what my whole everything changed in an instant, in a second. It was gone. You know, all my plans, everything was over. Like that. You know, and when I was trying to get people to help me go skydive again, right? You know, they were like, no way, screw you, you know, like whatever. They were assholes about it, you know? And, you know, I tried to tell them, like, hey, man, you know, you should humble yourself a little bit because the wolf is always at your door, always. And, you know, the second you let your guard down, he's going to bite you in the ass. And you should humble yourself. This way you don't have so far to fall because that's a long fall, you know? Of course, they didn't listen, but you know what? You know, it's the truth. You know, I only know this because I went through it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying because I'm some, you know,
guru or something.
Yeah, guru. No, I'm not a guru. It happened to me. I'm just telling you, be careful.
In advance, so you don't need to live hardship to know it. Yeah,
because you know, I tell you, there's nothing more humbling than you know, having someone have to wipe your ass. That's horrible. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
It's just the whole situation. They don't like, man. But I tell you what, I came out of there as just a different person. You know, it's just night and day. You know?
I appreciate you, man. Where can everybody find you? And do you have a website or social medias?
I'm really light on my social media. I'm going to change it. My website is gpacelli.com.
Perfect.
And if anybody needs to get in touch with me or ask me a question, there's a contact. You know, just shoot me a message. I'll get right back to you. And other than that, I gave a speech in Virginia 2 months ago. You know, and I was actually like, I didn't want to do it. You know, because it's not my thing, right? But I promised somebody I would a year in advance, thinking it would never come. You know, and then the next thing I know, here I am, the keynote speaker, and I'm like, oh man, right? So I did it, and I enjoyed it, and so I plan on doing more of it. So I hope, you know, by telling my story, I just hope I could help somebody, anybody, even just one person. I don't care, you know.
Do you think that talking publicly, because you didn't think of doing it, and when you did it, it's because you know your story. So after you start, you're just going and you feel the crowd, so you can analyze how you throw shit. I did music in bars and stuff, and it's exactly that. Like, you're so scared of so many people looking at you, but I know my fucking song. So after it starts, it goes well. So. But after you do it once, it's like a drug. You just want to do it again because you feel like you reach people. Like, literally, the person was there taking notes. I was like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so you're so right though, because like, I was terrified, and until I realized that the words were actually coming out of my mouth, and then I was like, hey, the words are coming out. I got this, and then I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? So I you know. And a lot of people appreciated hearing my story because they all had a story too. That's the key, right? They could relate to my story because they all had something that they went through in their life, you know, and they wanted to tell it too. So I sat there after I was done, and I just listened to everybody. It was great. You know, so it was pretty cool. You know, I definitely would do it again. So
that's awesome, and hopefully we can do this again in a couple of months, man.
Absolutely.
You're a great person, and we were thrilled to have you on. So thank you for coming on the podcast, and thank you all, everybody, and I'll see you guys next week.